Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Thriving with Rachael and Dr. Lou. Sorry we were not able to go live tonight. Something's going on with Facebook that I cannot detect. So we're going to pre-record and then hopefully we can catch up with you guys if you had any extra questions. But we did get some through email and through chat already, so we'll try to answer those as best we could. We'd like to welcome Kristin Sapp, who is the director, right, at Bikram Yoga Exton, which I have been to before, so I'm excited to talk about my experience, but want to kind of hear more from you today. And I know we had a lot of questions that came in, but I do want to start off with just, what is yoga? I know Bikram Yoga is very specific, but if you could just get on to give some background.
There are many different kinds of yoga, but on a very basic level and what most people think of when they think of yoga, it's a physical practice that combines your breath and helps connect your mind and body. So it's basically making shapes and doing certain movements that have or create effects in your body to bring about change and health benefits.
So then I guess can you also talk about the heat? Like we had some questions like is the heat, what's better with heat from Bikram Yoga versus maybe regular yoga? Like is there more of a benefit?
So Bikram Yoga is a style of yoga and it does use a heated room and the room is 105 degrees. And I know people always say, I could never, ever do it. It's way too hot. But honestly...
I was one of those people, for sure.
But then you came to like it, right?
I did. I loved it.
See, and that's what happens. Our bodies are really good at adapting. And when you go into heat, such as a sauna or any type of heated environment, it causes your blood vessels to dilate, and that's vasodilation. And what that does is increase circulation in the body. So just being in a warm room is helpful for circulation, which of course is healing in and of itself. So combine the heat with then the postures that are creating effects in the body, and you've got a really good combination for creating change, which is great.
Were you scared hearing about that?
Yes. I was scared that you were going to tell me that I have to go and try this out too.
Might have to do
I probably should
do this,
and I probably will do this. But, I'll represent several of the people out there that are thinking like 105, wow. And yoga in general, like you were talking about shapes, like putting your body in certain positions, right?
Yes.
How do you get through to somebody that is scared and thinking there's no way my body can do any of those positions? Like I love child's pose. Just let me just lay on the floor.
Yeah, maybe a little downward dog if I'm feeling really spicy that night.
Yeah, and you see these Instagram posts of handstands and all these really fancy things. Everything that we do is within the natural range of motion of the body. So our classes are designed for beginners. My mom comes, she's 75, we have
awesome.
Actually multiple people in their 70s who come, and then we've got kids in college. We've got a really wide range of people, and everyone can do the same class. The key is you do what you can do in the class. You just go as far as you can go. And the ultimate goal for our classes is that you feel good when you leave. The goal of yoga is not to get really great at yoga and do all these fancy shapes and postures. It's really not. It's to make your life outside the room better so that you can walk up and down the stairs and it doesn't hurt, or you can empty your dishwasher or get on the floor and play with your kids. Like really basic things that will make your life better.
So,
so that you feel good in your body.
Fundamental movements that we all do, getting up out of a chair, getting down on the floor, in and out of a car, things like that.
Yes, it's really not extreme. It sounds extreme and it sounds like you need to be a triathlete to come do it, but it's really not. Now at the same time, I actually have triathletes who come and do it because you work to your own level. So whatever that level is, you're going to feel challenged.
Right.
And if it's too much, you back off, you take a break, you sit down, you take care of yourself when you're in the room, and that's really what it's all about. And as far as the heat goes, our bodies are really good at adapting. So you just keep coming regularly, and before you know it, you're really craving it because it feels really good. Plus, the heat helps with stretching. So, anytime you're going to do something, you warm up first, right? Yeah. This helps you warm up and gets the body
ready
to
just walk in and
stretch. You're warmed up.
You're ready to go. Yeah. But I think it has to go back to mindset a lot of times, and that's a lot of what we talk about, like going into that room. I remember the first time I went, I was so intimidated, first of all. And right when I walked in, I'm like already sweating. Like 5 seconds in, the class didn't even start yet. And I was like, why are you getting in here early? So I literally stepped out and came back in when the class started because I was like so intimidated. 90 minutes. I was like, there's no way. But when I finally got in there and kind of gave myself permission to lay on the ground if I needed to, or to not do the pose in the full way that I was supposed to. And, I gave myself permission and didn't say that I'm failing by not doing it. It just made such a difference, I think. And I think that's where we have to adapt to. And you also talked about the goal of it. And I think I went into it assuming I had to get the pose. And like, if I didn't get the pose, then you didn't do the full thing. And
like you wouldn't get the full benefit
yeah,
of it?
like you're kind of half doing it. Yeah. And that was not the goal, though, to your point. It's not after.
It's not. It's after. And it's if you can't straighten your arm.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, after coming to yoga for a few months, you can now straighten your arm. Or you.
So is it fake? Like, is that going to help you later? So like, or is it only when you're in heat? Like, how does your body adapt that way? Like, is it only the heat that helps, or how does that?
The heat helps you move your body.
Yeah.
But when you hold the pose still, you are creating this flexibility, but you're also creating strength to support that flexibility. So you always want a balance of strength and flexibility. If you're super loose, but you have no strength, that's not really great.
Right.
If you're super tight, but you can't move, that's not great either. So we're always trying to achieve a balance between those two for whatever range of motion you have, and bring you back to your full range of motion. Right. We're all different. We're all built differently. So it's going to look different for everybody and feel a little different for everybody. Right. But at the end of the day, what we want is for everybody to feel good in their own body. And back to your point on taking a break, we're taught to just push and push. No pain, no gain. You're feeling tired, don't stop, don't rest, keep going. And so a lot of time I spend in class saying, it's okay to take a break if you need to take a break. Right. It's okay to sit down if you need to sit down. Hey, so-and-so, sit down. Like, take a rest. It's okay, because sometimes we need rest. Right. And that's what we don't get. So this 90 minutes in the room, even though we're working hard physically, it is a rest for your brain, which is really important too, because we spend a lot of our days in our head. Yeah. And so the yoga practice really brings you into your body. When you come onto your mat and you haven't practiced before, and I tell you to put your arms over your head or pick up your foot, it's strange at first.
It was.
And so that struggle to do these very sort of basic but moves that we don't do often, that struggle brings you into your body and starts you having a connection to your body and a relationship with your body. And the more you're connected to your body, the more you start to understand the things that make you feel better and the things that make you don't feel worse.
Right.
So you really start to have this power over yourself and how you feel, and it brings a big sense of confidence to people too, which is great.
One of the things that was really cool as you were talking, Kristin, I was thinking of how the body and the mind now are coming together. Yeah. Like they're on the same page, like on the same team.
Yes.
And I think so often we are at odds with our body because we're mad that our body can't do what we want to do, right? And
or it doesn't look the way we want it to look.
Yeah.
Yeah. We really, I think, are conditioned to battle against our bodies. And I know for me personally, when I started taking yoga, it was the first time ever that I actually started to connect to my body in a really positive way. Not battling against it in terms of weight, or like you said, I couldn't run far enough, or, and had to work with it. Yeah. And that shift is huge, because when you start working with your body instead of fighting against it, it responds. Yeah. It's sort of like anything. If you're nice to it, it will respond in kind,
What a novel idea.
I know, right?
But it's about that conditioning. We talk about that all the time. How do you talk to yourself? What are you paying attention to? And, I think a lot of times, and this is something we touch on a lot, is you're really only aware of discomfort most times. So when we're in pain, when we can't stretch our arm, when we're not running fast enough, whatever it might be, that's what we're aware of. And then that's how we talk to ourselves, that you're not doing it well enough, you're failing. And, that type of dialogue, that mind-body connection, that kind of physical, and we have a physical response to that, the stress that we're under, the hormones that are getting released at that point. It's just that connection that you're talking about is we're conditioned in a way that's not helpful. Yes. It doesn't make us feel good.
Right. And the The thing about Bikram yoga that I love is it is uncomfortable. But at the same time, we're using breath, keeping breathing normal to keep the nervous system nice and calm, and teaching you how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and not letting it run into this big story like you're talking about. Not let yourself go down that path, but rather keep yourself calm, keep yourself focused so that you know, okay, can I take another step forward or do I need to sit down and rest? Really making accurate decisions instead of reacting through discomfort, you know, learning to deal with it. And that's a mind skill that serves you outside the room way more than
that's
inside
what I was
the yoga
just going
room.
to say. That's such a valuable lesson and skill to have, is to be able to sit with discomfort. I mean, we work with people all the time trying to get them to be okay when they're not feeling okay, and learning to just sit with that, and they don't like that, right? And so this is a great opportunity for them to learn yet another way to get uncomfortable in a controlled way, and yet learn how to be okay with that.
That I don't have to feel okay. I can be uncomfortable but be okay. You know, because honestly, my first class, I felt like I was dying for a second. I was telling myself I was. I knew I wasn't, right? Like, I'm just hot. It's just, you're just hot. It's, you know, and that in and of itself can be overwhelming. But I remember, like, I literally thought, I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to pass that. And that's what I'm telling myself, which didn't help me. And the moment that I started recognizing, like, okay, you're sweating and you're going to keep on sweating for the next 90 minutes. And I just kind of accepted that. I was able to focus on everything else. It wasn't about trying to stop sweating in 105 degrees, which
and the sweat is what's going to keep you cool. So you want to be sweating. Your body's really smart.
The irony there, right?
It's doing exactly what you need it to do. I have people constantly like trying to wipe it off. I'm like, no, leave it there. Your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Our bodies are so smart, but we're disconnected from them and we don't listen to them because.
But to your point, we try to make it stop.
Right.
The thing that's helping us.
Exactly. Exactly.
So when you're in different poses and you're sweating and you're feeling, you know, really uncomfortable, how do you help people connect with that discomfort and just settle into it? Just like be.
The number one tool is breathing.
Yeah.
And we try to keep the breathing normal. In other words, in through the nose, out through the nose, which keeps the nervous system calm. So not eliciting that fight or flight by mouth breathing and heavy breathing. We always say, if the breathing starts to get out of control, back off, do less, sit down if you need to, learn to keep the breathing under control, then move forward. And that's a huge tool and skill, and it takes a lot of practice. You know, I mean, it's difficult for all of us because we're never taught that. But I think that that's one thing this yoga teaches better than anything else, really, is how to really stay connected to your breath, and then how to use your breath to keep yourself nice and calm, even when you are uncomfortable, because life is uncomfortable, you know, and that doesn't mean it's bad, but we're taught to just want only good feelings, you know, and it's just not going to work like that.
We need to fix it, and the discomfort isn't fixing. We don't need to fix it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just uncomfortable. At the end of the day.
And honestly, after time, like, I am super comfortable in the heat now. And most of my students are, you know, the ones that have been practicing even for, say, a month. I'm not saying years. It happens very quickly. Our bodies are great at adapting.
Now, you mentioned that Bikram yoga is one form of yoga.
Yeah.
How is it for people to do, I don't know, normal yoga and then do Bikram and then like go back and forth, like do all different kinds of...
Sure. I mean, all yoga's good. You know, if you're connecting to your body and connecting to your breath, that's awesome. You're going to get a ton of benefits. This is just one style. I have found the heat to be super beneficial for myself and for my body. And so that's just sort of the path I took. I practice some other styles as well, and they're all good. But I just love this Bikram practice because it's accessible. We're not doing downward dogs, so there's no like weight on the wrists and the shoulders. And I practice Vinyasa, and I like that. That's a different style. But this practice, it's a beginner practice. It's really accessible to a lot of people, and it's really healing, and that's what draws me to it, and that's what made me want to share it with people.
Can you talk a little bit about the differences between Vinyasa and the Bikram? Because I know, you know, what we do here is we try to help people figure out ways to help them thrive, right? And what you're touching on are so many of the points that we touch on in terms of being uncomfortable and yet learning to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Using breathing and getting grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset. I mean, all of these different things are things that we spend hours a day talking about.
Yeah.
But there's different kinds of yoga, so what are they?
There are so many different kinds.
I'm
going to tell you about 3 because these 3 we've offered at the studio right now because things are scaled back a little. We're just having our Bikram classes, but we've also offered Vinyasa. So Bikram is more of a stationary practice. You'll do a pose, then you'll be still. You'll do another pose, you'll be still. Vinyasa is more of what people would consider a flow practice. So all the postures sort of move from one to the other. There's that popular downward dog and chaturanga that you always hear about.
Yeah.
There's those in that. So that's a little more constant moving in that class. And then the other style that we've offered in the past is a Yin practice. And that one is one where you would get into a pose and then stay there for maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. So you're in a position.
Wow.
The room is typically cooler. And that really targets more of the connective tissue, the really dense tissue in the body to help open things up. So the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, the fascia, things like that. But again, any practice where you're connecting to your body, connecting to your breath is going to be beneficial for you in the long run.
Are there certain situations or conditions that you would point someone in one of those directions?
I guess there could be. I would say if you came to me and said, I'm going to start a practice, I've never done yoga, I would say start with the Bikram practice, which people don't want to hear because they're like, but that's the 105 and that's the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's really the most accessible, and we do each posture twice. You really have time for your body to get into each one.
That was my favorite
sort
part.
of
I was like, if I mess it up the first time, I'm like, I get redemption after
In
this.
the second
So,
time,
like, I got
yeah.
this. I think I know what she said.
It really is the most accessible. While it sounds the most scary, it's the most accessible. So that's the one that I offer. And I would always say, talk to your doctor first. Make sure that you're able to do it, and then come see us. I have my mom. I told you she practices. She's getting ready to have a knee replacement, but she still comes because she's keeping that leg working and moving, so that after surgery she heals
That'll
faster.
help her a lot.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I had a girl who broke her foot. We brought in a chair. She sat in the chair for the standing series, and then she did the stuff on the floor. Like, we can work with a lot of things. So there's not really anybody that I would say you shouldn't come unless your doctor says you shouldn't come.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to ask something accessible.
Yeah.
What do you mean by accessible?
Well, talk about that.
Well, really, anybody can do it.
Okay.
I would be okay if you came in for the first time, and I tell people this all the time, because somebody would say, I'm super scared that I'm not going to be able to do anything. Okay, sit on your mat.
That was the first yoga I did. Was
Just come and be part of a community.
Well,
we
that's
talked a little bit
big
about
piece.
that.
Talk about the community, because that's important.
Yeah, you can do yoga anywhere. You can do it online. You can do it in your house, and that's good. Again, if you're doing it, I'm happy. That's better than nothing. But people need people.
They do.
And so to come into a room filled with people of all different ages and all different sizes and all different backgrounds and work together in an uncomfortable situation creates a really positive collective energy. And so we all feel that collective energy. And that's a really big piece of the puzzle that people don't realize. You leave feeling really good, and you leave feeling connected to people that you didn't even talk to. And that's cool.
True. That's
really
what I was
cool.
going to ask. I was thinking, you're there 90 minutes with somebody right next to you,
but you're
not talking.
Yeah.
Right.
But you feel like, wow, we both went through this together.
Yeah.
We made it through. Yes, exactly right.
And we work together, and that energy is very real, And I say to my classes, some days you're giving some energy for people who need it, and some days you're the one taking a little and who needs it, and there is that definite give and take, and that's really cool too. And just to know that we all have days that are awesome, and we all have days that are not so awesome, where we're lying down and just taking a rest because that's what you need, and that's cool too.
And that's a day that you really need to come to yoga.
Yes.
When you're having those down days.
Totally. And speaking of down days, we've all been through the past
Yeah.
year, and it's been really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And the people at the studio, the community of people that we have that had this practice to then lean on during that time was really, really huge. And I always think, you know, taking care of yourself should be proactive, not reactive.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that when you hit a situation like that, you've got a practice to lean on. You've got something to fall back on. And that helps you through the time. Because once that hits, if you don't have that system in place, it's really hard to find it then.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
So how many I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you could talk a little bit about kind of where the studio is right now. Are you guys doing virtual? If you could just give us a little background on, are you in person?
Sure, we're
What's
back
the
in
protocol?
person. Yep.
Yeah, kind of talk about that a little bit.
We're back in person. There still is a mask mandate going on, so we do wear masks, which I know you're going to say, oh my God, it's hot. And
Not only 105.
I was like, I don't even like sitting in
We're wearing
group
a mask.
no. Whew.
See the beginning of the video where your body adapts quickly. I swear it
I'll
does.
trust you.
And again, we're telling people, take care of yourself. You know, don't come in here and think everything is going to feel the exact same, because it's not. And so you have to be where you are. And I think yoga is really good at helping you accept wherever you are that day or that whatever. So, yes, we're wearing masks. We are operating at a limited capacity. We have 21 people per class. That's 6 feet apart, person to person.
Wow.
So it's going well, and people are coming back and getting back into the studio. We did switch to virtual while we were closed for a little while, and we have an on-demand library that people can access. But
I was going to ask, because that was actually one of our questions, can you do this from home? Like, I don't know if the question was, can you like heat up your room at home? I don't know if that was the question, but if it was, is that a thing?
I mean, you
people do
can.
that?
When we were all virtual, I would have people heat up their bathrooms.
Okay.
That's the easiest room to heat if you're going to heat it.
right.
Take a
So-
little space heater in, turn on the shower beforehand. It'll
Yeah.
get humid,
Okay.
and then you can do it in there. But
I love
again,
that.
I like in person. I like in person, obviously, because I'm there and I'm teaching. But even when I'm taking a class, I find that inspiring, and I find it holds me accountable. Like it gets me there, and it makes sure I get my practice in.
Yeah.
So I like being in person, and having an in-person instructor just to make sure you're doing things
That's
correctly
true.
is really valuable
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
You know, especially if you have something going on. All of the teachers are so great at giving you an adjustment or an accommodation if needed. So that's an important part of the practice too.
For sure. And same hours and everything? And
Same
website
hours, all
and-
that's on the website. It's
Okay.
BikramYogaExton.com.
Okay.
There's a Get the Facts page about all the protocols that we're doing right now. You know, we upped our ventilation system. We did all those kinds of things when COVID first happened. So we feel really confident about how things are.
Good.
And people
So
are really
do you
happy
provide
with
the
coming.
mats? Do we have to bring our own
Bring a
mats?
mat, bring a towel.
Bring a mat
Yep,
and towel.
you'll want a mat, and then you'll want a towel, like a bath towel or beach towel to put on your mat, because you do get sweaty.
Yeah.
And then bring water and wear clothes that are really comfortable to sweat in, whatever you're comfortable in.
Yeah.
You know, like some
Shoes,
people wear
no
shorts,
shoes?
no shoes, bare feet.
Bare feet.
Most people wear shorts and like a little tank
Not
top or
loose
something.
clothing, like as
Yeah.
I tried that one time. It gets heavy because you sweat so much. So tighter
Yeah,
clothing.
okay.
would be
Fitted feels better,
Yeah.
but again, like whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not comfortable in that and you want to wear just a t-shirt,
Yeah.
totally fine.
That'll work. Yeah.
Totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you sign up?
You
To
sign
start
up
class?
online via the website.
Okay.
There's a schedule page, and you can just click to sign up there.
Okay.
There's also a button to email through the website, so if somebody clicked on that, I get all those emails,
Okay.
and I can help.
And you can just show up. You don't need to have a pre-class.
No, you do need to register ahead of time right now
I
because
meant
the
like you
limited
can.
capacity.
You don't have to have experience. You can just kind of sign up for
Oh
your
gosh,
course
no.
and just.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, that's how most people start. I mean,
Okay.
I hadn't done yoga before I did this. I
Yeah.
just went to a class. My mom took me to a class.
Yeah.
Really?
Full circle.
Wow.
Right?
Yes,
full
That's
circle,
awesome.
yes.
Very cool.
Yes, she
Very
took me
cool.
to a class.
That's
So it's
awesome.
Bikram Yoga,
Exton.
not at Exton.
Nope, just
BikramYogaExton.com.
BikramYogaExton.com.
We will put the link on this video so that you guys all know what it is, so that you can sign up there and your email if that's okay. We
Yeah,
can have people
absolutely.
contact you.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for your time
Thank
today.
you.
It was great having you.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
any questions, obviously, you guys can leave them on our page, or obviously you can email Kristin. I will have everything up on the link, and we will hopefully see you guys next week, Wednesday, not Thursday, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thanks, everybody.